The old man sat alone on a wooden bench under the shade of a dying tree. His coat was faded. His boots were cracked. His hands were rough and scarred like an old battlefield. Around him, young soldiers laughed, trained and sparred with each other. Some looked at him with curiosity, others with pity. But most of them didn't notice him at all. They called him Old Iron, not because he was strong, but because he was stiff, like rusted metal. That's what they believed. No one remembered his real name. "Why does he even stay here?" one young recruit whispered. "He's useless," another laughed. "Probably just here for the free food." "He thinks he's still a soldier," said a third. How sad. The old man heard it all, but he didn't speak. He didn't react. His eyes were calm. But deep inside, something burned, quiet and slow, like hot coal buried under ashes. He used to fight, once, long ago. That evening, the commander's voice echoed across the camp. "Everyone, gather," he ordered. The soldiers lined up. The commander was young, strong, confident, full of pride. He looked at his team with sharp eyes. "We're the future of this army," he said. "We don't need weak links. We don't need old stories. We need warriors who can fight now." He paused, then looked directly at the old man sitting quietly at the back. "Some people," he said loudly, "don't understand when their time is over." The soldiers turned toward the old man. A few chuckled. "Tell me, Old Iron," the commander said, walking closer. "Do you still think you belong here?" The camp was silent. The old man stood slowly. His bones cracked. His back was slightly bent. He looked up at the commander. Not with anger, not with fear, but with a calm that made the air feel heavy. "I never left," he said softly. The commander smiled coldly. "Then prove it," he said. "Tomorrow you fight." That night, the barracks buzzed with laughter. "He's going to break his back. He won't last 5 seconds. Someone better bring a stretcher." In the corner of the camp, the old man was alone again. But this time, he wasn't sitting. He was moving, slowly, carefully, his fists rising and falling in the air, shadow boxing. His movements were slow at first, but then something changed. Each strike became faster, each step sharper. He spun, ducked, punched, like he was fighting a ghost. His breathing was steady, his eyes focused. A young recruit, sneaking out to use the bathroom, froze when he saw the old man. He didn't believe what he was seeing. The old man was training. Years ago, he was one of the best. They sent him to the worst wars. He returned, when others didn't. He fought when others ran. He had medals, he had scars, but time moved on. The world forgot. And slowly, so did he, until now. Morning came fast. The camp gathered in the training yard. The ground was dusty. The air was tense. The commander stood tall, wearing his training gear. He smiled as the old man stepped forward. No gear, no armor, just his old boots and a calm face. The soldiers began to whisper. "This is going to be quick. He can't even lift his hands." Why is he even trying? The whistle blew. The commander rushed forward, fast like lightning. His fist flew toward the old man's face. But something happened. The old man moved. Not fast, not flashy. Just right. He leaned back, just an inch. The punch missed his nose by a breath. The crowd gasped. Before the commander could recover, the old man stepped in and tapped his shoulder with his fist. Not hard, not brutal, but enough to show he could have hit. The commander's eyes widened. The fight continued. The commander came again, angry now. He threw heavy punches. The old man moved like wind, quiet, smooth, controlled. He didn't punch back. He didn't need to. He was teaching. Each dodge, each block was a message. You are fast, but I am precise. You are strong, but I am wise. You are loud, but I am still here. After 5 minutes, the commander stopped. He was sweating, panting, confused. The old man stood straight, taller than before, stronger than anyone remembered. He didn't speak, he didn't smile, he just looked at the crowd. The same crowd that had laughed at him, mocked him, ignored him. Now no one laughed, no one whispered, they just stared. Because now, they understood. Later that day, the old man sat on the same bench under the dying tree. But something was different. One young soldiers came to him, not to laugh, not to joke, but to ask, "Can you train me, sir? Will you teach us? Please. Show us how you moved like that." The old man looked at them. His eyes were tired, but for the first time in many years, they sparkled. He nodded, slowly, quietly. Because warriors don't speak much, they show. And that day the old warrior reminded them all. He was never too old to fight. He was just waiting for the right time. The training yard was quiet the next day. No one laughed at the old man anymore. Now they watched him. Some watched with respect, others with fear, a few with silent curiosity. They had seen him move like no old man should. He didn't fight with power. He fought with memory, sharp, clean, deadly, and now they wanted to know, who was he before this? That morning, in the mess hall, the whispers began. I heard he once fought a whole squad by himself. No, someone told me he used to lead secret missions. They say his name was feared across enemy lines. The stories grew like fire in dry grass. Some soldiers doubted them, others believed every word, but no one had the full truth, because the old man never told it. He didn't talk about the past, but the past was about to return. That evening, the youngest recruit, Private Lane, walked nervously toward the old man. The old warrior was polishing his boots outside the barracks. He didn't look up as Lane approached. Sir, Lane said softly. The old man didn't answer. I saw you fight. You were amazing. I've never seen anything like that. Still, the old man kept cleaning. Lane took a deep breath. Can I ask something? Just one thing. Now the old man stopped. He looked up, his face calm but unreadable. Were you ever in the Black Mountain War? There was a pause. The air felt heavy. Finally, the old man spoke, voice low like a wind before the storm. Yes. Lane's eyes widened. That war was legendary. It was a place where entire squads disappeared, where only a few returned, and those who did were never the same. Did you fight there? Lane asked. I survived there, the old man said, looking back at his boots. Is it true? Lane whispered. That one soldier took down 20 enemies alone? The old man didn't answer. He didn't need to. His silence said enough. Later that night, the old files room was unlocked. 2 soldiers, Lane and his friend Daxon, crept in. They opened the old paper files. Dust filled the air. Rats scattered in the corners. They searched until they found it. File 421. Name, Joran Vale. Joran Vale? Daxon said. That's his name? They flipped the pages, medals, missions, injuries, survivals, and then they saw one line. Status. Classified. No details to be shared without high command clearance. The rest of the file was blacked out. All of it. Daxon swallowed. This guy, he's a ghost. Lane nodded slowly. And he's sitting right outside our barracks. The next day, something strange happened. A transport ship arrived from Central Command. 3 high-ranking officers stepped out. Their uniforms were clean. Their faces were serious. They didn't speak to anyone, except the old man. They took him into a private tent. Nobody knew what was said inside, but when the officers left an hour later, they didn't look at anyone else. They nodded once to the old man and left. The whispers became louder. What did they want? Was it about the war? Why would command come here just for him? That night, in the quiet of the camp, the old man stood alone again, this time facing a wooden post. He threw soft punches at it. 1, 2, 3. Then he stopped. He looked at the moon above, breathing heavily. He remembered. Years ago, he stood in snow, blood on his coat, smoke in the air. His squad was gone. The mountain was silent. Only the enemy remained, hunting him like wolves. He didn't fight for glory. He fought to live. He fought to bring one message back to base, a message that saved thousands. But no one ever knew, because he never told. Suddenly, a voice behind him broke his memory. You were in Black Mountain, weren't you? The old man turned. It was Commander Riln, the same man who had mocked him before the fight. But now, Riln's voice was different. It had no pride, no arrogance, only curiosity. I asked Central Command about you, Riln said. They refused to give me details. That only happens for one kind of soldier. The old man said nothing. You were a ghost, Riln said. A shadow in war. A name the enemy feared. Still, silence. Then, slowly, the old man said, Ghosts are dead. I'm just waiting for peace. Riln nodded. I misjudged you. The old man looked at him for a moment, then turned back to the wooden post. Everyone does, he said. That week, the camp changed. The young soldiers began watching him, not with jokes, but with interest. Some followed him during training. They noticed how he balanced his steps, how he breathed with each move, how he studied his opponent before making a single strike. He wasn't fast, he wasn't flashy, but every move he made had meaning. One night, during a heavy storm, an emergency alarm rang through the camp. Intruders, real danger. This wasn't training, it was war. Young soldiers panicked. Some reached for weapons, some froze. Commander Riln shouted orders. And in the middle of the chaos, the old man walked calmly to the front line. Someone tried to stop him. You're not active duty. But he kept walking. His eyes were sharp now, alive, like they were years ago. When the danger passed, when the intruders were stopped, everyone saw what happened. The old man had led the defense. He didn't just fight, he commanded. He guided the young ones, and not a single soldier was lost that night. The air in the camp had changed. Before, people looked at the old man with doubt or pity. Now, they watched him with quiet respect. Some called him Sir without being told to. Others followed his training without question. Even the commander listened when he spoke. But still the old man, Joran Vale, kept his distance. He trained alone. He spoke little. He never smiled. Something inside him still felt unfinished, and that unfinished feeling was about to wake up. One evening, while most of the camp slept, a small transport ship landed near the edge of the training grounds. It wasn't from Central Command. The ship didn't carry supplies or messages. It carried a man, tall, bald, with sharp eyes and a long scar running down his left cheek. His uniform was clean, but his fists looked worn, like they had broken many bones. His name was Colonel Dresk, and he came for one reason. Revenge. Many years ago, during the Black Mountain War, Dresk had fought on the same battlefield as Joran, Vale. But they were not on the same side. They were enemies. And back then, Joran had left Dresk with a broken arm, a shattered pride, and a warning. Go home. Or next time I take more than your arm. Dresk had never forgotten. Now years later he had found Joran again, and he wasn't here to talk. The next morning, the camp was shocked. Colonel Dresk stood in the middle of the training yard, loud and proud. I'm here to challenge your so-called warrior, he shouted. If he still has strength in those old bones, let him face me. Commander Riln tried to step in. This is not a dueling ground. Colonel Dresk stood tall in the center of the training yard. Soldiers gathered fast. No one knew who he was, but his voice was hard like metal and his eyes were full of fire. "I've come to fight Joran Vale," he shouted. "If he has the courage left, let him face me now." Gasps filled the camp. Some soldiers looked around, confused. Others backed away. The name Joran Vale now carried weight. Commander Riln stepped forward. "This is a military base, Colonel," he said. "We don't allow personal fights here, Colonel." Dresk smirked. "This isn't personal, Commander. This is unfinished business, and if your people respect this man, then let them see what he truly is." At the edge of the crowd, Joran Vale walked slowly into view. He didn't speak. He didn't rush. He just stood in front of Dresk and looked him in the eyes. "I told you to go home," Joran said quietly. "You broke my arm," Dresk replied. "Now I'm here to return the favor." The crowd stepped back. A circle formed. No one moved. No one spoke. Even the wind seemed to stop. Joran slowly removed his coat. His arms were thin but solid. Old scars lined his skin, proof of past battles. Dresk cracked his knuckles and smiled. "This won't take long," he said. Joran didn't answer. The fight began with silence. No shouts, no warning, just movement. Dresk charged first, quick, powerful, like a storm. His punch flew toward Joran's. Head, Joran ducked. Not fast, just at the right time. Dresk swung again, this time with more power. Joran stepped aside, only a few inches, and the punch hit air. The soldiers watching couldn't believe their eyes. The old man wasn't blocking. He was reading. Then the first punch landed. But it wasn't from Dresk. It came from Joran. Small jab, not hard, not flashy, but it hit Dresk in the ribs. Clean, sharp. Dresk gasped. Joran stepped back. "You're slower than before," he said softly. Dresk roared and came forward like a beast. He threw wild punches. His face was red with rage, but Joran moved like smoke, calm, quiet, untouchable. Then, another punch, to the shoulder. Dresk stumbled. Another, to the side of his neck. Then a final one, to his chest. Dresk fell to one knee, coughing, his hands shaking. The yard was silent. Every soldier stared. They weren't watching an old man, they were watching a master. Commander Riln stepped forward. "That's enough," he said. "This fight is over." But Dresk held up a hand. "No, it's not." He stood slowly, his breath heavy. "You win this time, Vale," he said, "but don't think this is over." Joran looked at him, calm, as ever. "It ended years ago. You just didn't know how to let go." Dresk turned and left the camp without another word. After the fight, the camp was quiet. No celebration, no jokes, only awe. The younger soldiers looked at Joran with wide eyes. Some had never believed the stories. Now they had seen one with their own eyes. And still, Joran didn't smile. He sat back on his bench beneath the old tree, as always. But now, there were soldiers around him, watching, listening, waiting. Later, that night Private Lane approached Joran. "Why didn't you fight with anger?" he asked. "He hated you." Joran looked at him. "Anger makes you blind," he said. "I've lived long enough to see where that leads." Lane nodded slowly. "Will you teach me that kind of control?" The old man didn't answer. He just stood, and Lane followed. Far away, in another command post, Dresk made a call. "Joran Vale is still alive," he said. "Still dangerous." A cold voice on the other end replied. "Then we must move faster." "Should I return?" Dresk asked. "No," said the voice. "Now we send something stronger." The call ended, and somewhere in space a ship began to move, fast, silent, and full of death. The stars above the camp looked peaceful that night, but peace is often the silence before something terrible. No one in the camp knew what was coming, not even Joran Vale. 3 days had passed since the duel. The story of the fight spread quickly, not just through the base, but to other nearby camps. Some called Joran a living legend. Others still didn't believe one old man could fight like that, but one person believed too much: Commander Rake Varos. He was once a rising star in the military, smart, strong, and ruthless. But his career had ended because of one failed mission. Mission Joran Vale had led. Rake had lost his men that day, and he never forgave Joran. Now, after years of hiding in deep space with a private army of mercenaries, Rake had returned. And he had one goal: destroy Joran Vale. Back at the camp, life returned to normal. But Joran felt something. He stood near the edge of the base, watching the mountains. His eyes were calm, but his heart uneasy. Something was wrong. That night, an old friend arrived. Sergeant Thalen, once part of Joran's original unit, had traveled from another region. He looked older, tired, but still sharp. "Joran," he said, shaking hands. "We've got trouble." Joran nodded. "I feel it." "Rake Varos," Thalen said quietly. "He's back, and he wants you dead." Joran didn't react. He just looked at the sky. "How many men does he have?" he asked. "Too many," Thalen replied. "Mercenaries, weapons, even a stolen assault ship." Joran breathed out slowly. "It was only a matter of time," he said. The next morning, Joran gathered Commander Riln and the senior officers. "This camp is in danger," he said calmly. "You must prepare everyone. Rake Varos is coming." Riln was shocked. "The Rake Varos? He's a criminal now. He wouldn't attack a military base." "He's not here for war," Joran said. "He's here for revenge." Riln didn't argue, not anymore. Joran had earned trust the hard way. By sunset, the base changed. Barricades were built, weapons were checked, patrols were doubled. But the younger soldiers were nervous. "Who is Rake Varos?" Private Lane asked. Joran finally told the story. Years ago, during a deep space mission, Rake disobeyed a direct order. His mistake almost killed everyone. Joran had saved the unit, but Rake blamed him for the fallout. "He never understood that saving lives meant sacrifice," Joran said. "He only saw the loss." "And now?" Lane asked. "Now he's coming with fire." That night, alarms screamed. The sky lit up with flashes, enemy ship approaching. It wasn't a warning, it was a strike. Rake's assault craft broke through outer security. It landed with a loud crash just beyond the eastern wall. Dust and smoke filled the air. Soldiers rushed to position. Joran stood at the front. No helmet, no armor, just calm eyes and steady hands. The first wave came fast, mercenaries with high-tech weapons. But they weren't trained like real soldiers. They ran wild, and they died fast. Joran moved through them like a ghost. Every move had purpose. He didn't waste a single strike. His presence gave the young ones courage. Commander Riln led the flanks. Sergeant Thalen took the rear, but it was Joran who held the center. Then the ship doors opened again, and out walked Rake Varos, his face twisted in anger, his voice cold. "You stole my future," he shouted. "Now I take yours." Joran stepped forward. "I didn't steal anything," he replied. "You lost it yourself." Rake laughed. "Still preaching like an old hero?" "I'm no hero," Joran said, "but I'll stop you." Rake raised his weapon. "Then try." What followed was more than a fight. It was war between two pasts. Rake fought with hate. Joran fought with experience. Blow after blow, they matched each other. But Rake had changed. He was stronger, faster. For the first time, Joran felt his age. His arms shook. His breath grew short. Rake noticed. "You're not the man you once were," he shouted. Joran smiled even as he bled. "No," he said. "I'm better." And then, one final strike. A move Rake had never seen, a memory from the Black Mountain War. Joran spun, ducked, and struck Rake's side hard. Rake collapsed. The mercenaries, seeing their leader fall, dropped their weapons. The battle was over. Rake lay on the ground, defeated. "You should have killed me," he whispered. Joran looked at him sadly. "That's not who I am," he said. "Not anymore." Later, the camp stood in silence. Not because they were afraid, but because they had seen something they would never forget. An old man, once called useless, had saved them all. Again. That night, under the stars, Private Lane sat beside Joran. "Why? Didn't you kill him?" he asked. Joran looked up at the sky. "Because if I did, I'd become like him." Lane nodded slowly. "You're not just a fighter," he said. "You're a teacher." Joran didn't reply. He just looked into the distance, because deep inside he knew this war wasn't over yet. Something darker was coming. And when it did, he would be ready. The camp was quiet again, too quiet. The battle was over. Rake Varos had been defeated. His men had either fled or surrendered, and yet Joran Vale did not rest. He walked the walls at night, eyes sharp, steps steady. The silence didn't bring him peace. It brought suspicion, because Joran knew one thing better than most men. Evil never travels alone. The next morning, while soldiers rebuilt the broken gates and fixed the walls, Commander Riln came to Joran. "We've picked up a strange signal," he said. "Faint, hidden in static." Joran listened to the recording. It was broken, filled with noise, but a few words came through. "Phase 2. Weapon ready. Eliminate target." Joran's jaw tightened. "That's not Rake," he said. "No," Riln replied. "Someone else is pulling strings." At the same time, deep in a hidden space station far from Earth's reach, a dark figure stood over a table of glowing maps. Her name was Varel Cade. Once a top scientist in the Human Coalition, now exiled for secret experiments on living soldiers. Her goal was simple: create the perfect soldier. But now her goal had changed. Now she wanted to test her creation against the only man people still feared: Joran Vale. Back at the camp, Joran called a meeting. Sergeant Thalen, Commander Riln, Private Lane, and a few trusted soldiers gathered inside the war room. "There's another threat coming," Joran said. "What kind of threat?" Lane asked. Joran looked at the map. "A mind, not just muscle," he said. "Someone who used Rake like a puppet." Thalen frowned. "Then what's next?" Joran pointed to a dark space zone on the edge of the screen. "Varel Cade," he said. "I thought she was gone, but she's not. And if I'm right, she's already moving." That night, a storm rolled over the mountains, but the real storm was still in space. On her ship, Varel watched a screen showing Joran's battle with Rake. She smiled. "He's still strong," she said. "Good." A large metal door slid open. From the shadows, a tall figure stepped out. Part man, part machine. No emotion, no mercy. This was her creation, Unit 9X. She looked at the creature with pride. "You were built to destroy legends," she said. "Now go prove it." The next morning, Joran stood alone on the training field. He watched the young soldiers spar. He saw their mistakes, their fear, their growth. Private Lane approached, sweating from practice. "I'm still not fast enough," Lane said. Joran gave a rare smile. "You're faster than you were yesterday." Lane looked down. "You think we'll survive what's coming?" Joran didn't answer right away. "Survival doesn't always mean winning," he said. "It means not giving up." Later that day, a warning alarm rang out. An object had entered the atmosphere. Not a ship, not a person, a pod. It landed just outside the camp. No explosion, no sound. Just dust and silence. Joran, Riln, and Thalen moved in with a small team to inspect it. The pod opened slowly. Inside was a screen and a message. Varel's face appeared. "Hello, old man," she said. "Still breathing?" "Good." Joran's eyes narrowed. "I'm sending you a gift," she said. "A new kind of soldier. No fear. No limits. Let's see what your fists can do against a real weapon." The message ended. Everyone looked at Joran. "What do we do?" Riln asked. Joran didn't blink. "We prepare," he said. "Tomorrow, we meet the future." That night, Joran cleaned his old armor. He hadn't worn it in years. He thought he was done with war. But war wasn't done with him. He looked at a photo of his old team. Some dead, some lost. Only a few remained. "I didn't ask to be a symbol," he whispered. "But if that's what they need, I'll be it." In the shadows of space, Unit 9X was already on the move. No thoughts, no heart, only a command. Eliminate Joran. Vale. He would arrive by morning, and with him, the true test would begin. The soldiers slept uneasy. Some dreamed of battles, others of death. Joran didn't sleep at all. He stood at the camp gate, alone, watching the stars fade, because he knew, tomorrow, the past would fight the future, and only one would stand.